And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. Patrick, how you doing tonight? Slate's going to be wild. Yeah, it is, man. This is some craziness going on with the NBA right now with all this injury news. So we're certainly not going to have an issue with value. That should be no issue whatsoever. So that is the good thing that we have going for us. But the question is, how are we going to use that value? Who we're going to pay up for? I don't think it's going to be too difficult to really determine that, to be honest, as we go along this slate. Some pretty obvious pay-up candidates, and like I said, I don't think we're going to have much of a difficult time fitting them in. So we'll talk about that as we go here, but as always, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. And we'll do a little bit of a game-by-game here to start things out, kind of get comfortable with the slate, and then we'll get into the questions. So Patrick says, what's up, KJK? How you doing? Doing good, man. Doing good. So let's go ahead and start breaking this slate down. We'll go game by game, get a little bit of a feel for what we're dealing with all these injuries and stuff. And the first game on the slate, the biggest piece of news that we're waiting on is the Derrick Rose news. He is still listed as questionable. Just got an update that he is indeed going to be a game-time decision. So that's obviously a big piece of news. And we just got another piece of news that Coach Thibodeau said that Kemba Walker might be back in the rotation. So that's some pretty relevant news, obviously. If Kemba's going to get minutes, he's way too cheap across the industry. So that's going to be another guy that we could look into for some value, depending upon how many minutes he gets. Now, obviously, I'm going to have a lot more interest in him if Derrick Rose is indeed ruled out. But the Knicks are really shorthanded right now. So the fact that they're saying Kemba Walker might get minutes, he could be maybe a sneakier play. Maybe everyone jumps to him now that news came out, though. Certainly going to have to keep our eyes on it. And like I said, I would greatly prefer it if there is indeed no Derrick Rose. The other thing is apparently Tyler Hall is going to be available for the Knicks tonight. So I did a little bit of research on him. Didn't really know much about him. Apparently he is he's the fifth top guy in the G League as far as three-pointers are concerned. So I guess this guy can shoot it pretty good. So that's something to take note of as well. But if Kemba Walker is going to be in the rotation and getting those minutes, obviously that's going to be some pretty relevant news. So we're certainly going to want to keep our eyes on the Derrick Rose news. If he's out, I think Kemba Walker gets a pretty decent allotment of minutes here, which would obviously make him a great value play. Not that we need any more value because we have so much value on this slate as is. But yeah, that's a big piece of news. Obviously the other guys in the Knicks here that are going to be healthy are going to get a lot of minutes, a lot of runs. So Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, like I said, if Kemba Walker's in, could become an intriguing play. So certainly keep your eyes on that Derrick Rose news. But Fournier, Alec Burks, both going to be top guys. Obviously, Julius Randle, the top pay-up option on the Knicks side. That should have the highest upside. He's priced pretty appropriately is the only problem. But with so much value that we have with these Golden State Warriors guys and the Brooklyn guys and the Orlando guys, etc., pretty much all of these teams. Milwaukee, there's plenty of value. So we'll talk about that as we continue along the slate here. But on the Boston side, I think Jason Tatum's going to be a big priority for me as far as a pay-up option. He's going to be just too easy to fit in our lineups. He's on a roll. Both him and Jaylen Brown going to be great plays for me in my lineups with all the value that we have. Certainly think that they're going to be worth paying up for. And there is no Dennis Schroeder, so that's obviously going to give them a big bump up. There's also no Al Horford, so you can be taking another look to Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. Those four guys should really play a lot of minutes, have a big key role in the offense. And like I said, the minutes are going to be there, and they're going to play a lot of them. So the Boston guys certainly making sense. Like I said, these pay-up options in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle should be very easy to fit in because we have so much value on this slate that we'll talk about. And it's not going to be very difficult to be fitting in these pay-up options. You're definitely going to want to. So that's kind of where I'd be looking to this game. Orlando taking on Brooklyn. Pretty much every single guy in this game is out. You're looking at the list. I mean, Durant, Harden, Irving, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr. So on the Brooklyn side of things, Patty Mills going to get a lot of minutes. Blake Griffin going to get a lot of minutes. Cam Thomas, David Duke, all of these guys should see a lot of minutes. And the Orlando defense was already bad as is. Now you factor in their whole team's hurt. And I don't think that's going to help their defense any here. So certainly going to have interest in targeting some of these Brooklyn guys. And Blake Griffin at 5'2", guy that's going to play in the mid-30s, good fantasy point producer, going to make a lot of sense. You could be taking a look to a Kessler Edwards as well. The only issue we have is they're kind of priced in the mid-range, and it's a matter of if we're really going to have to go there with all the value that we have in these other games that we'll talk about. On the other side, Orlando, I think Franz Wagner's going to have a bunch of usage if you'd like to go to him. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of upside in this spot. And from a value aspect, one of the best value plays on the slate from the big man perspective is going to be Robin Lopez on this Orlando Magic squad. There's no Wendell Carter Jr., there's no Mo Bamba. He played 33 minutes last time out, put up 32 DraftKings points. He continues to be priced way down at only 3.3 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's only 3.8. So Robin Lopez certainly going to be one of the best values on the slate. And that's kind of my approach to this game as far as the Orlando-Brooklyn injury news. Golden State's going to provide a lot of value now. Stephen Curry got ruled out for rest. There's no Draymond Green. There's no Andrew Wiggins. So they're going to be another squad that we're really taking a hard look to on the slate tonight. You have Damian Lee, Bielitsa, Gary Payton, Toscano Anderson going to be two of the top value plays on the slate, both expected to get the start. Both very good fantasy producers when they do get minutes, and both priced way down in the low 3K range. So they're going to be two of the top value plays on the slate for me that I'm prioritizing getting in my lineups. Certainly going to have a lot of interest in them. A sneaky option on the Golden State side that I don't think anyone's going to play would be Jonathan Kuminga off the bench. I think that he could maybe be someone that has a pretty decent game, and since he's not starting, he won't get nearly the ownership as some of these other guys. So I do think that Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a great value play all the way down to 3K. And on the Toronto side of things, there continues to be no, I don't think there's going to be any OG Anunoby. He practiced Thursday. Maybe there is going to be. So maybe Anunoby's in. Keep your eyes on that. That's certainly going to take a hit to some of these other guys, like a Scotty Barnes, a Pascal Siakam, a Fred VanVleet. If that is the case, these guys probably become a lot less interesting to me. Although they still get a bunch of minutes. The minutes are solidified. And like I said, there's so much value on this slate. You're going to want to pay up for these guys that have the minutes locked in, that are playing in their mid-30s, upper 30s in minutes. Because it's just going to be too easy to fit them in. It's a no-brainer. So I certainly have interest in them. The LA Clippers taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Next game on the slate, Paul George is expected to be out. I do think that's going to give a big bump up. I mean, we're going to see more Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard minutes, but I also think the biggest beneficiary here is going to be Reggie Jackson at 7.4. Priced pretty appropriately over here on DraftKings, I would say. On FanDuel, he's a lot cheaper. Looking at the FanDuel price tags, I believe he is 6.1. Yeah, 6.1 for Reggie Jackson. So he's another guy that you could certainly be playing in your lineups with there being no Paul George. He should get a big bump up here. Definitely have some interest in him. And as far as anyone else on the Oklahoma City side of things, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's still in. Josh Giddey's still in. Lou Dort's questionable as far as the latest update. He is a true questionable, so that's certainly going to be some big news if he's out. Obviously, Giddey gets a big bump up. So does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If he's in, they're going to take a bit of a hit. And like I said, Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann in the mid-range, with there being no Paul George, could be some intriguing options for you. It's just a matter of the build and with all the value we have if we really need these mid-range guys. I certainly think this is going to be a stars and scrubs slate. So these guys in the mid-range, if you do play them in your tournaments and you play more of a mid-range balanced lineup build, I do think you'll be a lot different. It's just, can you really have the same amount of upside as some of these other lineups? And I'm not too sure that you can, because Golden State Warriors guys, the Orlando value, all the value we've been talking about just makes it so easy to get to these top guys. Some of the top guys being Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, priced up. There is no Mike Conley in this game. Mike Conley getting a rest night, so that's going to be a big bump up to Mr. Donovan Mitchell because he's now going to turn into the point guard of this squad. So I think his upside is going to be tremendous on this slate tonight. He's certainly someone that I would be prioritizing paying up for in my daily fantasy sports lineups tonight. And it's going to be very easy to fit him in, like I said, with all the value. Rudy Gobert, if you want to pay up at center, certainly could fit him pretty easily. You have the Robin Lopez value, you have the Robert Williams value. Maybe people don't quite pay up for Rudy Gobert as often, and you get him at lower ownership than you typically would if you want to go there. With Mike Conley being out, obviously that's going to give a big bump up to a Jordan Clarkson as well, and a Joe Ingles, some of the other guys. Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gay even maybe gets a little bit of a bump up here. But obviously the main candidate I would say off the bench is going to be Jordan Clarkson. That's going to get the biggest bump up. There's no Mike Conley. He should get a few more minutes, more usage when he comes off the bench. He is the point guard, essentially. He's getting all the on-ball usage and handling. So, when they do take Donovan Mitchell out of the game, Jordan Clarkson comes in at only 4.9. He could certainly get you there in a hurry at his price tag. So if you want to go there, certainly would not deter you from doing so. So that's another spot to be looking to. On the Washington side, this is a very difficult matchup. Kyle Kuzma, Bradley Beal, Spencer Dinwiddie all being healthy and in. I'm not too sure. I'm not interested on the Washington side. Is what I'm trying to say here. I think I'd much rather target the Utah side. Like I said, I do think Donovan Mitchell is a top priority for me on this slate. With there being no Mike Conley, him having the point guard responsibilities, I'm not too worried about this Washington defense. I think that Donovan Mitchell is going to be a tremendous play tonight. And I would certainly recommend that you get as much exposure to him as possible. Anytime he moves over to the point guard position, more on-ball handling, more upside, more usage, all of that fun stuff. No Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, great play. And the last game on the slate, you have Cleveland taking on Milwaukee. Giannis continues to be out. Bobby Portis is out. Chris Middleton's out for that reason. Drew Holiday is going to be one of the best options on this slate. If not the best option, all the usage is going to be flowing through him and this Milwaukee offense. So Drew Holiday should be a top priority for you in your lineups tonight. Certainly going to like him a bunch. On the Cleveland side, there continues to be no Evan Mobley, which makes me like Jared Allen quite a bit tonight. And I'm certainly going to have quite a bit of exposure to him as well. But I also will say for my parlay play bankroll challenge picks tonight, pulling them up on the screen, I will be going with Drew Holiday and Jared Allen in this game. We started out with $10. Our bankroll currently sits at $38.27. I really like this pick. I'm going to be locking it in for a $25 entry on the parlay play bankroll challenge to multiply our money by 3. So I'm really liking this pick over here on parlay play. Too low of a line for Drew Holiday with all this usage. There's no Chris Middleton. There's no Giannis. There's no Bobby Portis. He should be able to surpass 29.5 easy. And Jared Allen, like I said, with there being no Evan Mobley, I think his rebounding upside becomes a lot more prevalent. And I also think that just his usage overall is going to go up quite a bit. So I'm going to be locking this in over on parlay play. If you haven't signed up, guys, I'm putting the link in the chat right now. Sign up using the code KJK003. Lock this pick in. $25 pick for me tonight. We're going to multiply our money by 3. Give us another $75 towards this bankroll. Try to get it up. We're only 4-6 in our record, and our bankroll's gone from $10 to $38. So the fact that we haven't been perfect and we still have multiplied our money by more than 3, great sign. Would highly encourage you to go ahead and check it out. And we're going to hit this one tonight and get a big bump up in our parlay play bankroll challenge. So looking forward to that. Check it out. Linked in the chat, guys. Sign up today. So yeah, certainly do like Jared Allen. I like Darius Garland quite a bit as well. At 8.3, he's priced much more appropriately over here on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. On FanDuel, they've got him at a nice discount, similar to Reggie Jackson, who we just discussed. So I do think that Darius Garland's a lot easier to get to over here on FanDuel at only 7.5 if you'd like to go there. Certainly think that he's going to be a pretty solid mid-range play for you on FanDuel. Upper mid-tier or whatever you want to call it, but certainly will like him. Drew Holiday going to be a great play. Another guy you could be taking a hard look to would be a Grayson Allen. He's a shooter, going to get a lot of minutes, and played 39 minutes last time out. That game did go to overtime, but certainly going to be a good play. And one of the best value plays on the slate, once again, another guy in the 3K range is going to be Jordan Nwora. There's no expected to be Rodney Hood in this one. Jordan Nwora played 42 minutes last time out. Once again, that game did go to overtime, but still, the fact of the matter is he's going to play in the mid-30s. Good fantasy point producer, and he is way too cheap over here on DraftKings at only 3.6. So I have a bunch of interest in him. I don't mind playing him over here on FanDuel either. He's much more appropriately priced, though. I'd still say he's a little bit underpriced at only 5.4, but it's not like he's all the way down near like 3.5 like he is on DraftKings. So over here on DraftKings, Jordan Nwora going to be a tremendous play. The clause says, Allen or Holiday? Holiday. Holiday is one of the best plays on the slate. The Milwaukee Bucks are completely depleted. They don't have Bobby Portis. They don't have Chris Middleton. They don't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. So Drew Holiday is the best play on the slate for me. So certainly Drew Holiday. But yeah, guys, that's a little walkthrough. Honestly, this slate, it's pretty straightforward. There's so much value. They've made it so easy on us. We have the Golden State Warriors value. They're all in the 3K range. Lock them in. I think Gary Payton's one of the best value plays on the slate. Produces at a very high rate, priced at 3.3 as far as how he's producing on a permanent basis on the season. Let's go down to him on my sheet here. But I know it's very, very good. So let's see. Gary Payton II is putting up 0.99 DK points per minute. Pretty much 1 DK point per minute. He's going to be the starting point guard. There's no Steph Curry. He's only 3.3. Gary Payton's going to be one of the best value plays on the slate. And like I said, obviously, Juan Toscano-Anderson's obviously going to be a great play as well, or a value play. You could be taking a look to a Bielitsa on the Golden State Warriors side as well, a Damian Lee, a Kevon Looney, although Kevon Looney's minutes have been limited to the point of where I don't really think I'd go there. I'd rather go to like a Jordan Nwora, who we just talked about, or Toscano-Anderson, a Gary Payton. They're both going to be tremendous plays. So yeah, guys, this is definitely going to be a Stars and Scrubs slate. You should be able to build your Stars and Scrubs lineups very easily. They're really making it easy on you, and then we just got confirmation that Kemba Walker might be back in the lineup now. So if Kemba Walker starts or he gets minutes at only 4.8, there's another value play for you. A guy that hasn't been seeing minutes, that's a very good fantasy point producer. So I think that lineup building is going to be pretty straightforward tonight. I think it's just going to be a matter of hitting the right value pieces and hitting the right stars, and I really don't think it's going to be that difficult. Drew Holiday, best play on the slate for me. Certainly want to prioritize paying up for him. We just did get confirmation that OG Anunoby is going to play, so that's going to be a bit of a bump to the Toronto's guys. So keep that in mind. But as far as pay-up options, I really like Drew Holiday at 8-2. Going to get all the usage. I like Donovan Mitchell a lot now that there is indeed no Mike Conley. He's going to become the point guard of this squad. He's another great pay-up option for me on this slate. As far as the New York Knicks and Boston game, I like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown a bunch. Julius Randle's a great pay-up option as well. He's just priced up at a very high price tag, so I'd much rather prioritize the two guys in Tatum and Jaylen Brown below him because they aren't priced up quite as high. So certainly do like those two guys. I like the value in this Orlando-Brooklyn game. If you want to go here in the mid-range, it's just these guys are starting to kind of get priced appropriate. Like Patty Mills at 7K. Do I really want to pay 7K for Patty Mills with all this value that's opened up and I can get up to a Donovan Mitchell or Drew Holiday? No, thank you. I'll pass on that. Blake Griffin at 5-2, still going to be a reasonable play, but once again, kind of priced in the mid-range to where do we really need to play him in our lineup, or can we just pay up for more studs? I don't know. That's just the lineup build thing. He's certainly a great play. Same can be said for Cam Thomas, Duke Jr. They're both priced in the mid 4K. Do we really want to pay up for them, or we can just play guys in the low 3K range over here on DraftKings on the Golden State Warriors side of things? I don't really know that we do. Gary Payton, Damian Lee, Toscano Anderson, Bielitsa, Kuminga. All going to be great value plays that are priced a lot cheaper, and they allow you to get up to those studs that you know are going to produce as long as they don't get hurt or in foul trouble or anything. So that would be my approach on this slate tonight, guys. We kind of went through that slate pretty quick, but it seems very, very straightforward tonight. I'm going to have a hard time seeing you not like your lineup. When you build your lineup, you should absolutely love it. You're going to have all the studs you want in the world. You're going to have guaranteed value that's getting a lot of minutes on the slate tonight. So yeah, no issues for me on this slate from a roster construction aspect. And like I said, I think it's just kind of an easy one. Unfortunately, that probably means that getting different is going to be a little bit difficult. So try to get different a little bit in your lineups. How you do so is kind of up to you. I mentioned a few sneaky guys on the Golden State Warriors. I do think that Kuminga's a pretty sneaky value play all the way down to 3K. And a lot of people are going to play Toscano Anderson, Gary Payton, Damian Lee, or whoever starts. It's expected to be Payton, Moody, Lee, Toscano Anderson, and Looney. Payton, Moody, Lee, Anderson, Looney. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be going to those starters. If people aren't playing Bielitsa or Kuminga, I do think that those two guys are pretty great value plays that people might be overlooking, and I certainly would go to them. The Prince says, thoughts on Favors? I don't really think you got to go to Favors on this slate tonight, man. He's really not grading out as a priority for me. My top value big man on the slate is going to be Robin Lopez, and it's not even close. You could be looking to a DeMarcus Cousins as well on Milwaukee. But the problem with DeMarcus Cousins is his minutes are somewhat limited, and I think that Robin Lopez is going to get a lot more minutes. So with these guys being priced around the same range, or Lopez being priced even cheaper, it's kind of an obvious play to Lopez for me. If you do play DeMarcus Cousins, I think that would be your way of getting different, but I honestly don't think that DeMarcus Cousins is going to score as much as Lopez, because I don't think he's going to play nearly as many minutes. Lopez, I expect to be in the 30s in minutes, so he would be a priority for me as far as my value at the big man position. And then as far as FanDuel is concerned, it's kind of the same game over here. I mean, once again, we have some really good value with those Golden State Warriors guys. I'm going to really want to prioritize paying up for Drew Holiday. Donovan Mitchell I like a lot. Darius Garland's a guy that I think is underpriced over here on FanDuel that I have interest in. Like I said, I do think that Reggie Jackson's underpriced over here on FanDuel as well at 6-1. Have interest in him. Marcus Smart, with there being no Dennis Schroeder, certainly gets a big bump up. So I think that you could be playing him over here on FanDuel. Same can be said for Jordan Clarkson, with there being no Mike Conley. So those two guys are two guards in the mid-range that would be solid plays on FanDuel. Shooting guard position, we talked about Mitchell, Garland. Jaylen Brown's certainly going to be a priority for me on FanDuel, where he's way underpriced. He's only 7-2 over here on FanDuel. So he's going to be a lot easier to be fitting in your lineups on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, and I have interest in him on both websites because of all the value. We should be able to get to him pretty easily, even though he's priced up a lot more expensive on DraftKings. Doesn't bother me. We have all those 3K guys that we could be jamming on our lineups to get Jaylen Brown in there, so I like him quite a bit on this slate. Let's see. Alec Burks, the New York guys. Fournier, Derrick Rose if he does play. If Derrick Rose doesn't play, like I said, maybe we look to Kemba Walker. So all of those New York guys become intriguing plays. Gary Payton at only 4.2. Like I said, probably, one of the best value plays in the slate, getting to start at the point guard position. Very good fantasy point per minute producer. If he's playing in the mid-30s, he's going to be an absolute smash play at 4.2, so I like him quite a bit. The shooting at the small forward position, paying up for Jason Tatum, Scotty Barnes certainly makes a lot of sense to me. Gary Trent in the mid-range becomes a little bit less interesting now that we do have OG Anunoby back in this rotation. So he's certainly still a good play because he's underpriced compared to some of these other Toronto guys. So maybe you'd actually rather play him than paying up for like a Scotty Barnes or something. And I mean, if OG Anunoby is a full go here, don't sleep on him either, because maybe people aren't really getting a lot of exposure to him. They're worried about the injury. And if he comes back, plays in the mid-30s minutes, he's going to be an absolute fantastic play in the mid-7K range over here on FanDuel. So if you want to go there. Paying up at power forward for Julius Randle certainly makes a lot of sense to me. On a site like FanDuel where we have all this value, he should be very easy to fit in our lineups, and he's only 8.8 on FanDuel as opposed to being priced over 10K over here on DraftKings. So once again, a guy underpriced on FanDuel compared to DraftKings that you could be having a lot of interest in. And I like Jared Allen, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, the 7K range guys. Blake Griffin, obviously, going to be forcing a ton of minutes with Brooklyn being really banged up at 6'3". He makes a lot of sense to me over here on FanDuel. Robert Williams, with there being no Al Horford in the mid-5K range, is a guy that you could certainly be playing in your lineups and that could definitely pay off in tournaments, so I like him. Jordan Nwora, we talked about. He's a little bit more expensive over here on FanDuel, but he's still priced in the low 5K range. A guy that's expected in the mid-30s minutes. Has been producing at a very high rate, putting up in the mid-30s of FanDuel points per game. These last couple games with there being no Giannis, so that's pretty good production, so if you want to go to him. With OG Anunoby back, Chris Boucher should get a lot less minutes. He's someone that I probably would not be looking to play on this slate tonight. He's probably going to be a fade for me. Lauri Markkanen is pretty cheap. He continues to see quite a few minutes on Cleveland. He's a little bit versatile, so if you want to play him, you could. Just keep in mind, he might get you 40. He might give you 10. So that's a little bit of a riskier play, but if you want to go there, I do think that he's viable. And then when we go to the center position, Bjelica, Toscano Anderson are the cheap Golden State value guys over here. The Prince asked about Derek Favors in the chat, so I guess I'll pull him up. I just don't think he's really worth playing, man. He's been playing like 18, 19, 20 minutes a game. We have all of these value plays with these teams being depleted with a bunch of injuries that these guys are going to be playing in the mid-30s around the same price tag. So I would encourage you to not play him. The center position, paying up for Rudy Gobert makes a lot of sense with all the value. You could certainly fit him in very easily. We talked about Blake Griffin, Robert Williams. Daniel Gafford is a guy that really grades out well in my projections pretty consistently. Even though he only plays 20 minutes, he produces at a high rate. And he can have a big game in that limited amount of minutes. He'd be someone that's a very, very risky tournament play that if you're trying to get different, I would say that you can play. Certainly not one of my top options, but maybe a viable play there. And then you do have the value plays in DeMarcus Cousins and Robin Lopez as well, all the way down here to 3.8. Once again, I do prefer Robin Lopez because I'd expect him to get a lot more minutes in the mid-30s. I would certainly rather play him than DeMarcus Cousins, so... yeah, that's a pretty good breakdown of this slate, guys. It's pretty straightforward. We have the value. We have the pay-up options. We should be able to jam in all the value, go up to the pay-up options. Feel pretty confident about our lineups. Like I said, this is a slate where you should be able to play anyone and everyone you want. When you're done building your lineup, you should be feeling very confident as far as, your overall lineup construction. It might be a little bit different to get different. It might be difficult to get different, but the fact of the matter is you're going to be able to fit in all the top plays we talked about. Drew Holiday, top priority for me with this Milwaukee squad being banged up. Really like him. Another pay-up option that I really like is Donovan Mitchell. With there being no Mike Conley, he's going to get the point guard usage and upside. So I like him a lot. Reggie Jackson, with there being no Paul George, is a guy that I really like for a pay-up option on the LA Clippers. Golden State Warriors taking on Toronto. I have no issues with you getting a bunch of these Toronto guys in your lineups because they're priced up and they have solidified minutes, and they should be pretty easy to be fitting in your lineups with all this Golden State Warriors value. So if you want to run it back on the other side with a Van Vliet, a Siakam, a Scotty Barnes, an OG Anunoby, also be in the mid-30s in run as far as minutes. Certainly makes a lot of sense to me. Orlando taking on Brooklyn. Not really interested in the pay-up option of Patty Mills. I think that makes no sense. If you want to go to Franz Wagner on the Orlando side, he should have a bunch of usage with his team being depleted. Once again, he kind of falls in that mid-range to where I'm not sure it's necessary to go to him when we have some pay-up options and some really cheap guys. Blake Griffin, certainly have no issues with you going to him. You could play an Edwards, a Cam Thomas, a Duke Jr. in your lineups. And Okiki, he's one guy that I didn't bring up on the Orlando side. That should be getting a lot of minutes. He played 39 minutes last time out, put up 53 DraftKings points. A phenomenal performance from him. So he's certainly someone that you could be playing in your lineups tonight. Sharp should get more minutes now that there's no Nicholas Claxton if you want to go to him. You certainly can. New York Knicks taking on Boston. We talked about paying up for these guys. Randall, Tatum, Brown. Burks should get a lot of minutes and usage. There's no Dennis Schroeder, Al Horford, so we should see more Marcus Smart, Robert Williams upside. And yeah, guys, that's a breakdown of the slate. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to be getting all these stars in your lineup. So it should be a fun one. Should have some star-studded lineups. The Claw says, thoughts on Dort? Yeah, Dort's priced reasonably if you want to go to him. If he is indeed ruled in, he is still listed as questionable. Guessing that he's someone that people will completely overlook. So, from a tournament aspect, I would certainly be willing to play him. He's definitely not one of my top plays on the slate, but I have no issues with you. If you're trying to get different going there, it does make quite a bit of sense. So yeah, guys, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Honestly, I'm just going to monitor the chat for questions. If you guys have questions, I'm probably going to bounce out of here pretty early. I think we covered the slate, feeling pretty confident about it. I'm going to get my projections updated, my core plays updated for my Patreon members. For those of you that don't know, you can check out the KJK DFS Premium Content Package for $19.99. I offer this free content, but I also offer paid content. That's really good stuff. Premium NBA projections, NBA data sheet, player stats, team stats, core plays. It's all color-coded data sheets that are going to help you become a much better NBA DFS players. Pulling one up on the screen right now. I have 16 sheets on this package, I believe. Here's my defensive shooting accuracy sheet that I like to share on the stream just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that my tools have to offer. And this tool, you can break down how defenses have guarded certain shots and determine which guys you'd like to play based on that. So, for instance, you can see the teams that have been the best and the worst against the three-pointer, the non-corner three, the mid-range, the long mid-range, the short mid, around the rim as far as scoring inside, all of that fun stuff. And let me get my social media out of the way so you guys can look at that, check it out. If you are interested, you can go ahead and purchase this. I will put the link in the chat. If you're getting really serious about NBA DFS, I would highly recommend it. The Prince says, would you go Rolo on FanDuel? Yeah, man, I have no issues with you going Rolo on FanDuel. The only thing that you're missing out on, just keep in mind, is, obviously you could pay up for like a Rudy Gobert. You only get one center play on FanDuel, but the fact of the matter is this guy's only 3.8. He's pretty much minimum salary. He's going to play in the mid-30s minutes. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal value play. It's just a matter of the lineup construction that you're preferring. If you're going cheaper other positions, then it might make sense to maybe pay up for a Rudy Gobert or a Julius Randle or another pay-up option. But if you're spending up at the power forward, small forward, shooting guard, point guard position, then I certainly think that Rolo does make a lot of sense as a value play. So yes, I would go Rolo on FanDuel based upon your lineup construction. You'll have to pick. There's so much value. I mean, there's so much value. You can pay up at whatever position you want is the thing. There's value at every position. So if you want to pay up at point guard, you can pay up at point guard. If you want to pay up at shooting guard, you can pay up at shooting guard. If you want to pay up at small forward, you can pay up at small forward. If you want to pay up at power forward, you can pay up at power forward. If you want to pay up at center, you can pay up at center. And I'm not exaggerating because there's value at every other position. So I would just really lock in on the guys you're prioritizing spending up for, put them in your lineup, and then use the value around them when you're building your lineup over there on FanDuel. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Honestly, you can make so many different lineups on the slate with the value that we have. All right, guys. Let me know if you have any more questions in the chat. I think we did a pretty good job of covering the slate. I might bounce out of here early. But don't forget to lock in the parlay play pick as well for the Bankroll Challenge. Today, my parlay play of the day, I'm going to be taking the Jrue Holiday over. Milwaukee really dealing with a lot of injuries. His usage is going to be through the roof. He's my top play on the slate. Jared Allen, I'm going to take the over 32.5 parlay points. There is no Mobley, so I think he's going to really dominate on the glass, get all the usage. Should have a lot more rebounding upside. And he also should have a lot more usage to go around. So, love the Jrue Holiday over. Love the Jared Allen over. Take that parlay play. Lock it in. I put the link in the chat. So, check out parlay play. Use the code KJK003. And if you didn't see the link, I'll go ahead and put it in there again. Just so it's easy and accessible. 12 Mitchell says, favorite 2 studs today. My favorite 2 studs today are... I don't know which website you're playing on, but regardless, I would say, I mean, that's kind of tough. I like all the studs because you can pay up for anyone and everyone you want. My favorite play, I don't know if you're considering him a stud, would be Jrue Holiday. He's getting so much usage. There's no Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's no Bobby Portis. There's no Chris Middleton. He's going to be running the show, so that's my favorite play. My other favorite pay-up option would probably be Jason Tatum on the Boston Celtics. So I'm not sure if you're classifying Jrue Holiday as a stud, but I would, even though he's not priced up like one. I mean, he's the best play on the slate, in my opinion. So I would certainly be prioritizing those 2 guys, Tatum, Jrue Holiday. Like them both a lot. So yeah, guys, I see there's 11 people in here. We got 5 likes. If you could take a second to leave a like on the stream, that would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. You can also follow me over on social media. I have Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Sometimes I'm active on Reddit as well. They're all KJK_DFS, except for Facebook, because Facebook doesn't allow you to put underscores in your username. So, if you want some more content, check that out. You can also get the KJK DFS Discord package for only $1 all month of December. For the holidays, I'm giving back to you guys typically a $10 package. I'd like to, offer you some value at a cheap price tag for the holidays. Just giving back to you guys. I really do appreciate all the support. We reached, and we just got confirmation that Chiozza is starting for the Warriors. So it's not going to be Gary Payton. They're going to start Chiozza. So that is interesting. That's Steve Kerr's rotations can be very difficult to guess sometimes, and I was very high on Gary Payton before that news just came out. Now that we know it's Chiozza starting, Chiozza, Lee, Kuminga. I talked about Kuminga maybe being a sneaky play. Now he's starting. That's interesting, guys. That is interesting. So the question now becomes: is Gary Payton really that good of a play? I still think he is off the bench. He should get even more usage. He's only 3.3. He produces at a very high rate. But I do think that this makes Chiozza a much more interesting play at only 3K. And yeah, that is tough. It's very tough to predict what Steve Kerr is going to do. So I wouldn't read into that too much. I still think, if anything, I just think this makes Chiozza a better play. But when you're looking at Chiozza's permanent production as far as how he does on a permanent basis, and then you compare it to Gary Payton, I mean, Chiozza puts up 0.71 DK points per minute. So he's definitely not as good of a fantasy point per minute producer as Gary Payton is, who puts up 0.99 DK points per minute. So I still think my advice to you guys would be to probably stick with a Gary Payton, honestly, because I don't know, man. Chiozza, even though he's starting, I mean, he's 3K. If you want to go there, he's certainly going to be a good value play over here on DraftKings. Let's see what Chiozza is on FanDuel. My guess is he's minimum salary. He's 3.7, so he's close to minimum salary. But he's point guard eligible rather than shooting guard eligible over here, where Payton's shooting guard eligible. So that is interesting. That is interesting. But a guy that I said was going to be sneaky now probably isn't too sneaky. Kuminga. I really like Kuminga as is. Kuminga is also a very good fantasy point per minute producer. Looking at what he's putting up on the season on a permanent basis. Looking at Jonathan Kuminga, he's putting up 0.87 DK points per minute. So he's going to become a tremendous value play now. He already was a good value play in my opinion, but now he's getting the start. I mean, Kuminga's going to be just an absolute smash play in my opinion. So he's certainly someone that I would be taking a look to on DraftKings, on FanDuel, both websites. He's 3K on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he's minimum salary as well. And he's putting up, right around 1 DK point per minute, 1 FanDuel point per minute. So Jonathan Kuminga at minimum salary becomes a very intriguing value play. I'm really interested to see if this lowers the ownership of Toscano Anderson. Or no, Toscano Anderson starting. I mean, Gary Payton. With Gary Payton not starting, if he's going to get some low ownership, I think I like him even more. Because he's going to come off the bench. He's going to get all the usage with the second unit. I mean, that doesn't bother me whatsoever that he's coming off the bench, really. And realistically, I could see him playing less minutes than Chris Chiozza and still outscoring him. So I do think that Gary Payton's a really intriguing value play. Kuminga becomes a tremendous value play. Toscano Anderson, Bielitsa off the bench. Obviously, this Golden State Warriors team, you can fit in all the studs you want on the slate. Like, let's just go ahead and put in the most expensive guys on the slate. Let's see, Julius Randle, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, and see what we have left for salary. That leaves us with like 4-1 left per salary. We have so much value. We have like Okeke at the center position. We had Robin Lopez, who we discussed at the center position. That's going to be a tremendous value play at only 3-3. That still leaves us with 4-3. We have Chiozza, Toscano Anderson, Kuminga, possibly Kemba Walker if he's in the rotation. So, I mean, it's going to be pretty easy to be jamming in all these top-priced guys. Let's see if we put in Donovan Mitchell. That leaves us with like 2.6 per player, so we can't quite afford that, so you'd have to take out one of these guys. Julius Randle's the most expensive, so maybe if you take out Julius Randle, that still leaves you with 4-5, and you could pay up for all of these studs in the slate. So it's definitely going to be a stars and scrubs slate, and that's how I would recommend you build your lineups. If you don't build your lineup stars and scrubs, I think you're going to be in trouble. I think you are going to be in trouble, and I think you're going to lose your money. So don't do that. Stars and scrubs slate. Make sure you're taking advantage of the value. The Prince says Kuminga over JTA. I don't know, man. Honestly, you could play both of them. It's very, very easy to play both of them. They should both get a lot of minutes. They're both like barely over 3K. Over Toscano Anderson, they're pretty much they're very close, man. I don't know. I would see myself having many lineups with the both of them. They're just too good a value to pass up on. So, if you want my honest answer, I'd see myself having just both of them in my lineup. But yeah, guys, take a second to hit that like button. Really do appreciate it. We're going to try to get to 20 likes on these streams. Be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these NBA DFS slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you win some money night in and night out. The Legend says, is PG-13 playing? No, I don't believe he is. He's doubtful. They already ruled him out. I don't know if it's official, but it pretty much is. They said he's not going to play. The Magic are going to start Mulder, Harris, Franz Wagner, Okeke, and Lopez. So you have the two value plays in Okeke, Lopez. Franz Wagner should get a lot more usage as well. Mulder's not exactly the best fantasy point producer. I wouldn't go there when we have all these other good guys. We just got a notification that Anthony Davis is going to miss 4 weeks, so that has nothing to do with this slate. But LeBron and Russell Westbrook should become really good plays for the foreseeable future. So that's interesting. Add another star that is listed as out now for quite some time. But yeah, guys, should be very easy to pay up for your top options. My top play on the slate tonight is going to be Drew Holiday. Milwaukee Bucks are completely depleted. His usage is going to be absolutely through the roof. He's going to be a big priority for me. Savon says, favorite value play over on FanDuel? That's a very tough question, Savon, because there are so many of them. And we just got confirmation on a different starting lineup for the Warriors, so I'm gonna be adjusting my projections and everything. For the time being, my favorite value play, and now keep in mind, this is not factoring in lineup construction. Like, you have to factor in lineup construction as well when I'm answering these questions, because if you want to pay up at center. But I can tell you right now, my favorite value play as far as who has the most upside at the cheap price tag would be Robin Lopez. He's only 3.8. Expect him to play in the mid-30s in minutes, taking on a Brooklyn front court that's depleted right now. Nicholas Claxton just got ruled out as well. He produces at a very high rate. Looking at my sheet over here and figuring out, he produces at a .89 FanDuel point per minute clip. So that's over a 12-game sample size, 192 minutes on the season. So, I mean, the guy's putting up essentially 1 FanDuel point per minute, and he's going to be the starting center. He's going to play in the mid-30s, and he's only priced at 3.8. So that would be my favorite value play. Once again, that is not factoring in roster construction, though, because we have all these other value plays. Toscano Anderson's really cheap. We talked about Gary Payton, Chris Chiozza. If you would like to pay on the cheap end for those guys, you could pay up for Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, or Jared Allen at the center position. And I certainly wouldn't call you crazy if you think that that's the appropriate way to go. But, I mean, Rudy Gobert put up 41 FanDuel points in his last game. Do I think that Robin Lopez could score 41 FanDuel points at only 3.8? Yes, I do. So it's really going to be an opportunity cost over here on FanDuel. So you got to figure out the top guys that you really want to be getting in your lineups. And then once you do that, then you can filter in the value, which the top value plays are, which you prefer. I would tell you that, I keep saying it, Jrue Holiday's, my favorite play on the slate. So I think that he should be a big, big priority for you. So I do think that paying up at the guard position does make a lot of sense. I highly recommend that you pay up for Jrue Holiday. For that reason, maybe it makes sense to go to a Robin Lopez. Maybe you want to go cheaper at the small forward position, though. I think it makes a lot of sense to pay up for Jason Tatum as well. Those would be my 2 top priorities on FanDuel for pay-up options. And there's so many more as well. With all this value play, you should be able to fit in. It's really just positional eligibility, lineup construction. That's what it's going to come down to. The class says lock of the night. I don't have a lock of the night because I didn't put out a video earlier. If I had to pick a lock of the night, I don't even know, man. There's a lot of locks. Like, I could go anywhere on the slate. I could say Jrue Holiday because he's a pay-up option. He has the most usage. I could go down to a guy that's really cheap, that's guaranteed minutes, like a Robin Lopez who we've been discussing. Honestly, if I put out a video this morning, it would have been very easy to have a lock of the night with all this injury news because it's just that easy. Like, whoever I would have picked is probably going to surpass the price tag unless they get hurt or in foul trouble or something crazy happens. Savant says Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I like Jaylen Brown a lot. He's really cheap on FanDuel, so Jaylen Brown's certainly going to be a priority for me over here on FanDuel. He's going to be a priority for me on DraftKings as well, though, because there's so much value on DraftKings in the low 3K range that it's just so easy to be paying up for these upper-priced guys. So Julius Randle, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown. You should be having at least, 2 to 3 to 4 pay-up options in your lineups tonight, and you should be able to do it very, very easily. There's just so much value. All the guys we've talked about for value. All the Golden State Warriors guys. Let's see. We have Jordan Noah is very cheap at 3.6 on Milwaukee. He's a value play that we could be looking to on this slate. We have Robin Lopez, who we talked about earlier. He's a very cheap play that you could be playing on this slate over here on DraftKings. We have Toscano Anderson and Gary Payton, and now we just got confirmation that Chris Chiozza is starting, so Chiozza's all the way down to minimum salary. We got confirmation that also, why am I drawing a blank on his name? We just got confirmation that Kuminga's starting. Jonathan Kuminga, he's a tremendous fantasy point per minute scorer, and he's only 3,000. So, building stars and scrubs lineups on this slate is going to be very, very easy. It's going to be very easy to do. If you are interested in checking out my projections, I'll have all of this stuff on my projections for my premium content. But these guys are all grading out as great plays. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. If you're just tuning in, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button. We have 8 likes on the stream, aiming for 20 on all these streams. And if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, guys, go ahead and check out my premium content. I would highly recommend it. It's a price of $19.99. You're going to get your return on investment very quickly. Would not be surprised in the least to see you win that all back in the first night you sign up. Use my premium projections, my NBA data sheets, player stats, team stats. You get my core plays, which I'll show you a preview of my sheet right now for my core plays. You get it for both the DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm going to give you my top 3 guard plays, my top 3 forward plays, and my top 3 center plays. And then once you see those core plays on both websites, you'll have an idea of who you should be using for value, who you should be using for pay-up option. I put a balance of the two so that you know who I'm prioritizing in my lineups. And it's very helpful. I've gotten some really good feedback from my current Patreon members over there. So if you are interested, check it out. It's about 6:16 right now. I'm going to be hanging around for another 15 minutes or so if there are a bunch of questions. If there are not, I'm probably going to bounce out of here because I have to update my projections, my core plays, all of that fun stuff for my Patreon members, answer all the questions in the Discord chat, and last but not least, build my own lineups where I will be playing Jrue Holiday in every one of them. So I guess Jrue Holiday may be my lock of the night. Maybe that's my on-the-fly call here, but there's so many good value plays I could represent them as being locks as well. So yeah, guys, if there's no more questions, I'm going to bounce out of here. I'm going to be hanging around. I'm going to give you guys 2 more minutes or 1 more minute here. It's just the clock just hit 6:17 on my end, so I'm going to wait till 6:18. If you have any last-minute urgent questions, please do ask them right now. I will gladly answer them. If you don't, hit that like button before you head out. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and I wish you all the best of luck tonight. We're still waiting on the Derrick Rose news. If Derrick Rose is out, maybe Kemba Walker becomes an intriguing value play. His minutes, we don't really have confirmation on how many minutes he's going to play is the only problem. And there's so many guys that we know are really locked into a lot of minutes tonight. So that's certainly going to be a mystery as to why if we really want to play him. The legend says, top 2 scorers for Golden State Warriors. That's really, really tough, man. Who do I think is going to score the most points for the Golden State Warriors? I'm guessing you're asking fantasy points, not real life points. My guess... I don't know, man. It's tough. I'd be locking in on Bielitsa, Gary Payton, Toscano Anderson, and Kuminga. So those are my top 4. And I like all of them a lot. So hopefully that helps you. Those 4 are tremendous value plays. You could play all 4 of them if you're in your lineup. So yeah. Kuminga starting is some pretty big news, though. Unfortunately, I was very high on him before the news that he was starting, and now he's probably going to get a lot more ownership, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. Patrick says, DraftKings, Gobert or Jared Allen as last player? Oh, that's tough. You can fit in both. You can fit in either. Patrick, I would go with who's projected more on my projections, man. I know you're a premium content member. I like both those guys. I like Jared Allen, but they're kind of priced in different range. I do have Rudy Gobert projected for more, but that game has a 9.5 point spread. The Cleveland game has a 3-point spread, so it has less likelihood of blowing out as well. So you just got to weigh in the positives and negatives of both. I would go with Rudy Gobert from a projection aspect, but if you do want to fade Rudy Gobert and put in Jared Allen, maybe that's a way of getting your lineup different, because if you have enough salary on the table to go all the way up to Rudy Gobert, let's see, Jared Allen's 8.7, Rudy Gobert is 8.8. Maybe other people choose to go Rudy Gobert and you go cheaper and it makes you different. So, I don't know, man. Trust your gut. That Cleveland game is expected to stay closer, so maybe you go there. However, Rudy Gobert is projected for more. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Would be greatly appreciated. You can check out the premium content, patreon.com/KJK_DFS. If you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, I would highly recommend it. It is a very friendly price tag. You're going to get your return on your investment very quickly. And last but not least, don't forget to sign up for Parlay Play as well. I'll put the links to both of those in the chat right now. Patreon content is only $19.99 a month. You're going to get your return on investment on that very quickly, I promise. There's a bunch of people in there right now, and I'm constantly asking for feedback, and everyone is telling me they're absolutely loving it. So, certainly appreciate that feedback, guys. And I'm going to continue to make it better and better every year. Always working very hard on that stuff. So, Patreon content is in the chat. The Parlay Play is in the chat. Don't forget to head on over to Parlay Play. Use code KJK003 when you sign up today. It's a players prop site. They have football, basketball, hockey, all that fun stuff. And we are doing the KJK DFS Bankroll Challenge, which for today, my picks are the Jrue Holiday over 29.5 parlay points and the Jared Allen over 32.5 parlay points. Sign up today. Use the code. You're going to get an instant match deposit up to $50 when you do. And you also get $10 risk-free entries. So I'll walk you through how to place this right now. You head on over to Parlay Play on the web browser of your choice. It is mobile friendly, very easy to use. You're going to click on the Bucks and Cavaliers game. Once you do, you'll see the players. In order to change the player, you click on the player's face, change it from Lauri Markkanen to Jarrett Allen, and you can pick points, rebounds, or parlay points, which is their format of fantasy points. I would click that above their head, change it to parlay points, click it above Jarrett Allen's head, change it to parlay points, click the over 29.5 for Drew Holiday, over 32.5 for Jarrett Allen, and I'm going to be locking that in for a $25 entry, $75 payout if we do get it right tonight. So, feeling very good about that pick. Check them out. Parlay Play. Use that code KJK003. The easiest way is to just use the link in the chat that I just put. It's also linked below in the description. And I'm going to get out of here, guys. Wish you all the best of luck tonight. I'm going to hop in the Discord chat, answer all my premium content members' questions, update my core plays, update my projections. Excited to get into the slate. And we just got news that Pascal Siakam is out. So, right as I'm about to leave the stream, Pascal Siakam is out. That is going to give a bump up to these other Toronto guys, a Fred VanVleet, a Pascal Siakam, and a Scotty Barnes. Or, I'm sorry, a Fred VanVleet and a Scotty Barnes. And a Gary Trent Jr. Pascal Siakam is out. So, all right, guys. I'm going to bounce out of here. Wish you all the best of luck tonight. We'll see you in the next one. Legend says, thoughts on Marcus Smart? I think Marcus Smart is a good play. There is no Dennis Schroeder. He's going to get a big bump up in usage.